All right, everyone, welcome to this webinar, which is an update on the current cyber threat risk related to COVID-19. And we have also promised to deliver kind of 5 key things for home users to make their personal internet or network at home more secure when working from home. So I will just start showing the agenda. First of all, just shortly about CSIS. We are a company founded back in 2003, 70 employees from about 25 different nationalities. We run 24/7 support. We have our own cybercrime conference. We created by Gartner, and we are known for our threat intelligence services. Today's agenda. I just mentioned it briefly, but basically we will start with some cyber threat highlights. It's 14 days since I did the last presentation, and I must admit there are so many new attacks in the COVID-19 name, and I cannot cover everything, but I have found some really interesting attacks today that I'm very excited to present. Then we'll have the top 5 steps to securely work from home, and then lastly some contribution you want to do. Question and answers can be raised during the presentation using the chat function in Zoom, and I will read them up at the very end. With the Zoom notice, then we are aware of the vulnerability related to Zoom that is out there, and we hope and we will change WebEx system for the next meetings, but for now we have to live with the risk. All right. So the first thing I noticed when I did my update on this presentation was a report from Shodan, who is one of the big internet companies out there that are scanning the internet on a daily basis and looking out for services public available on the internet, also for vulnerabilities and all kind of other things. But one of the things they mentioned was that after COVID-19 has started, basically the remote desktop services has exploded, and a lot of companies haven't planned for people working from home and haven't had the environment in place, so they have opened up for this protocol. So it makes it possible for people working from home to connect to the internal network using the RDP protocol. Looking into Shodan, you can see around 3.2 million systems are directly available where you can, if you have to use your own password, log in and take over the control. I'm mentioning this because this hopefully is not something you have done, or at least if you are considering doing it, make sure you do IP restriction on the service itself, because a lot of attacks that's been running in a long time is trying to circumvent or attack the RDP protocol, either by using password brute forcing or by using vulnerabilities to get access. So this is just a hint that a lot of attacks is being seen against RDP, not because of the COVID-19 in general, but just because it's so vulnerable from the outside, and this of course is being used a lot when more and more systems is connected. The other thing I noticed was interesting phishing emails, spear phishing email, using again, of course, the COVID-19, which is the whole topic for today. So every attack you see will have some kind of coronavirus attached to it or inspired by. I took in this example, first of all, because it's Maersk that is sending out the email. You can see they're using Kaastrup.live as the sender domain, but the display name is Maersk in the email, and that is of course possible due to the insecurity of our email protocol in general. What is interesting in this specific example, except of Maersk is being used, is it's of course has the virus attached in the word macro file that you can see called coronavirus impact on shipment booking.doc. It's a remote administration tool. But if you look at the email itself, how it's formatted, you can see that the criminals have made a mistake. So there are some formatting mistakes in the email itself. It's typical, this is much better done. But you can see that because of some mistakes done by the criminals, there are a lot of formatting issues in the email. And that is, of course, something you want to watch out for when you receive emails, for the legit of the email itself. The other attack I noticed was they start using like high-profile email accounts that they have compromised to send out emails to make them look more legit. In this example, you have harrisnr@state.gov, and this email is not spoofed. I know that because of the DMARC SPF is actually in place for state.gov. The email itself contains an ISO attached file. Once it's unpacked, you will see this nice view. If you have Carbon Black or other EDR systems, what is happening is it's unpacking an SCR file, and that's executing stuff on your machine, which in the end will install the Remcos RAT on the machine if you accept or if you run the file. And as I said, the reason why we know it's a compromised email account, or at least the network is compromised, is due to the DMARC and SPF is actually set up correctly for this sender. The next we have seen, one of the new trends, not new but common with COVID again, is because of the intense amount of work from home, a lot of people were not prepared and they need to have VPN clients installed to connect to the company's network. The criminals have, of course, also figured that out, and what they have done about that is they are distributing like fake VPN accounts. Sorry, fake VPN clients with the Azeralt, as you also noticed from my last presentation, is a very known RAT to be used. In this example, they are distributing as being the Proton VPN clients. And of course, that is a very nice trick to get more people infected. Again, we see Android malware being distributed using the COVID-19 domain. So this one is hosted on covid9-guidelines.online/update flash player. And it's an APK file. It's not on the official app store. It is a dedicated app store for Android. So I guess not that many people will be infected by this, but at least they're using the same trick with the flash that needs to be updated. And the thing here is that they have registered the domain with a COVID-19 name attached to it, which means that they're probably being shown more in the SEO searching on Google and so on. Another example, and this is related to the usage of people that have domains that are not protected with the DMARC SPF and DMARC, and I can only kind of encourage everyone here today, go and fix your DMARC and SPF, how should you say DKIM in the end, settings. It is easy to do. It's basically a DNS setting, and it disallows the criminals from spoofing emails in your name. So everybody should really do this. Unfortunately, there's so many out there that does not do it, and it means that it's so easy for the criminals to spoof emails from the big organizations such as WHO. So in this example, you see World Health Organization, WHO, sending out an email, and that email contains a malware file called Kodiak RAT, again giving full access to the system, very, very low AV detection. And one of the things that happens is connecting to this IP address. I'm showing the IP addresses, but there's a lot of other IOCs, again, that we will make available for you for free, that I will show you in the end. So don't think about all the IOCs that is popping up. I'm just showing it because you should be aware. This is a bit sophisticated attack because once you're opening the document and then in there's a PDF document and a macro thing that you need to activate for opening the PDF. What that macro does is it's spawning the PowerShell, and then it downloads the specific component of the malware that is needed for Kodiak Rat to run. So again, a little bit more sophisticated macro attack, but it is still in the same field. As I said, you're looking up at who.org and you see there's no protection of that domain whatsoever. So everybody can send on behalf of them. Then we have a new antivirus out there. I'm wondering when that will be on VirusTotal. It's called Corona Antivirus. And they have their own webpage called antivirus-covid.site. And of course, as everybody will of course know, is that this is in no way the Corona antivirus or an antivirus product. It's the black net rat, which you can see in the left corner. That's the control panel. So whenever you get infected and install this nicely new Corona antivirus product, you will become part of the black net rat botnet, and the criminals will have full access again to your machine. You can do whatever they need to do to steal your money or your credentials or access to your company network. Then we have seen an explosion. I mean, one thing is that Office 365 phishing attacks has been increasing over and over again during the last couple of years, because of Office 365 is a cloud service, and regardless that it has a lot of security features for conditional access to the email, there is so many people using Office 365, so it's an obvious target for criminals, also because it's a cloud service that makes it easy for them to test their attacks before they send it. It makes it possible for them to steal credentials that they can use and so on. We even see phishing kits that circumvent conditional access by using, by also stealing the second factor and use it real time. I have a couple of examples here on advanced Office 365 phishing in the name of the coronavirus and COVID-19 again. The first one you see, it is a phishing attack where it's a PDF, and the PDF itself contains a link which points to a phishing site for O365. Very, very well done. It is a little bit difficult for the scanners to detect because they need to find the specific link inside the PDF and so on. But still it's possible. Another example right here is HR. It's HR that sent you a fax and then COVID-19. Again, there is a link pointing to a phishing site for Office 365. Another example review on coronavirus updates. Again, an Office 365 phish. You have coronavirus attached as an HTML file, again with an Office 365 phishing attack. And the last example I just brought in, I mean, there are so many, so I just want to give some ideas about that. This is definitely something you want to watch out for, because access to email addresses or email accounts is something that they use to distribute more of their attacks, but of course also they can do it or use it for purposes against your own company. So you want to stop this. This one was about you missed a call for COVID-19 update. All right, then we see another thing, and I found this very interesting because of the packages that also the Danish government is giving out for people to get refunded for employees not able to work or that they sent home. And they're doing that in a lot of countries. As you know, these are attacks related to Canada. It's basically the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, who approved an immediate check of $2,500 for those who choose to stay at home during the coronavirus crisis. And then there's attached file. The password is 1234. That makes it very, very difficult for the AV to scan the file. But again, a Word document where you need to run the macro, and then you can infect them with a set load of Banner Trojans. These are things that I would expect should very easily also target Denmark soon, because it's an obvious way of attacking. When you look at the domain that is being used for the attacks, gmx.com, we have seen that specific domain being used in a lot of other attacks. gmx.com is basically a domain that criminals often use to send out spam emails. But the display name COVID-19 relief, it makes it more legit when you just look at it. Again, some of the IOCs related, if you get infected, these are the command control server requests going to the criminals with all your data. And the Banker Trojan is able to circumvent two-factor authentication on most of the online banking systems out there. We see mobile apps, mobile apps that are named in a way that that you would find them interesting. I know I had some examples last time also. I just want to kind of give some more examples, like the coronavirus tracker, as you know about the COVID-19 alerter. You want to be alerted if there is something in your area which has been detected corona or the coronavirus status. So these are just some of the apps we see out there. Still, the apps are only for the Android. Nothing that I have seen so far is related to iPhone. If you are on an iPhone, you are probably more safe than the Android version or the Android people at the moment. As I also told you, we are monitoring any domains related to Corona or COVID-19, and a lot of others are doing the same. I just want to show you a graph here, which really show the spike of the domains that are registered related to Corona, which also is available in our threat intel feed. There has been an analysis done by someone out there that says 50% more likely to be malicious when it's a COVID domain at the moment when you compare it to other newly registered domains. So that tells the story itself, I think, that the domains we see newly registered is something that eventually you want to block immediately. Better safe than sorry, then you can open it up if somebody really needs to get access. That is at least how I would do it myself. Simply block all newly registered domains for Corona or coronavirus, and then open up as it's become needed. Then I found some interesting thing about the criminal groups out there. We are really, I mean, regardless of Corona or not, we still have a lot of ransomware attacks happening at the moment. It hasn't really gone down at all. We are still doing the same amount of work on incident response, and it's a lot still related to like the emoted infections. We then install TrickBot, and then TrickBot installed the ransom component called Reich. But I found a couple of interesting stories out there, which the first one is related to it's Bleeping Computer that have been in dialogue with the criminal group behind the Cloak ransomware, and basically asked them if they would like continue their work or start thinking about if they were attacking like the health sector, would they then kind of lower their attack vectors or kind of help them not to or to get disinfected. And the Cloak ransomware family was out there saying, yeah, absolutely, we never attack hospitals, and if it should happen by mistake, we will ensure to give them the decryption keys for free. So it seems like some criminals have a moral compass, where others, they really don't. And this is the Reich, which is related to TrickBot, which is the one we have seen in Denmark targeted a lot of big enterprises and small, medium business companies. That is primarily Reich we have seen, and they don't give a shit. I mean, they just keep attacking and get their money. And have no moral whatsoever. So I thought that was two interesting articles to take into consideration in this crisis. that was my kind of updates on the attacks we have seen related to COVID-19 the last 14 days. And I mean, I had so many more examples that I could have put in here, but I had to limit myself in respect of time. So my ending thing here is I want to give some advices. I know all of you who participate on this meeting today, you are pretty security aware, otherwise I don't think you would participate because it is rather like a technical brief in the beginning. Last time I gave you advices for people working from home, how you as a CISO or IT security person in your company should deal with the risk of people working from home. So that was more for you. Today my advices is for the people who working from home and do not have security experiences. So it was more maybe 5 good advices you could give to them. And it has been very inspired by the SANS material that came up last time. I also talked about it, and I have put in some of my own tools and recommendations. But first of all, number 1 is like you are the best defense. So you need to be aware, especially the email attacks that we have seen exploded. That is the primary attack vector. I would say 95% of the attacks is related to an email attack. Use something like Scam Advisor or whatever different tools or online websites out there that can help you investigate a specific URL before you're entering it. Attention especially on the instructed to update bank details. This is for the financial departments. We do expect a lot of attacks will be in the CEO, BC fraud space for financial people because of the fact that they're working from home and don't have physical contact to the other financial people where they can just discuss something if it looks suspicious. It is much more easy to impersonate someone who sits at home in front of the screen. Check file attachment extension before you open and click them, and don't run macros. Just in general, don't run macros when it's an email, when it's attached to an email. Be aware of the naming urgency, or that you're instructed to bypass the security policies because you really need to do this and it's a secret. And the tone of voice in the email, even from friends and coworkers. As you see, they are attacking a lot of Office 365 accounts, and it can easily come from them. It can easily come from a compromised LinkedIn profile that we have seen a lot of with a links or whatever. And then use your work computer for work. And I'm saying this because I'm working from home myself. I have a 2-year-old, and when I leave the room, I have to lock my computer because it takes him 2 seconds to be all over the disk. The home network, change the default administrator passwords on your Wi-Fi access point router. Allow only people that you trust. Create a dedicated Wi-Fi for guests if possible. Then you don't have to think about being on the same network, or use your mobile phone for private network. That is actually much more secure than being on your home network, I guess. Make it strong passwords. And speaking about password, I recommend, passphrases is fine, and if you are fine with that and you can remember all the passphrases that you come up with, that's good. Otherwise, do like me, use a password manager. Don't use the built-in browser storing of passwords, because that is the first thing that these info stealers, they would steal passwords from the browser. It's so easy for the malware to do that. So use a specific password manager that is known to be secure, such as LastPass. Use multi-factor authentication when possible, and at least use it for your LastPass account, where all your password then will be stored. Check if your password is already compromised. Check it on haveibeenpwned.com. And for updates, make sure to always update your computer, mobile devices, apps, and programs to the latest software version. I know it can be annoying that Microsoft comes out and say, hey, you need to restart. But remember, when it's an update, security update for your devices, criminals might already know about that vulnerability and can use it in the wild. So the faster you update, the less risk you are to be infected. Heimdall has the free version for private users. So when you're using your own home computer, do that. Speaking about using your computer or your work computer for work, one of the things that I found a lot of in the incident response cases is that people are checking their private email where the malware goes through, but they check that from their working computer. Therefore, the work computer gets infected from a private email. The problem is that the email services that private users uses are probably not as secure as your company. So advise them to basically use their checking private emails, use their phone or their private computer to do so. Okay, the last advice is for kids and guests. Make sure your kids and guests cannot use your working computer. Make sure to log in when you're not near it. And to the end of the presentation, I will just talk again about our contribution. We have decided in CSIS to give away 30 days free trial, no strings attached, in the good faith of dealing with COVID-19, and that includes our threat intelligence services that have all the indicators for all the attacks I showed you now, and a lot of others that I did not have time to show you. You can get it both by exporting it directly from our portal or by using our API to sync out the data and use it in your SIEM or MISP or whatever you have. You can get a free trial on our remote incident response kits, so you're able to make an investigation with your home users, even on their private machines, very easily. And lastly, our email fraud protection, which is an added security layer currently working on Office 365, very easy to install, and you get all your file attachments scanned with 56 different AV scanners, not only in the initial scan, but also in the 72 hours after that. So I encourage you to use this free trial because there's no strings attached, and it will increase your existing security posture. This leaves me with 3 minutes for questions, and I will now look into questions that have come in. Otherwise, make sure to send questions that I will then read up. I will start with the first one. Could the Azerol attack you showed be mitigated by using DNSSEC? No, I don't believe so. I can recall the Azerol attack itself that I showed, but the DNSSEC, no, I wouldn't think any of the attacks could be avoided by the DNSSEC thing. Is there any direct evidence that threat actors are attempting to exploit the operational resource impacts of organizations now working remotely? Appreciate we are seeing a targeting of those working from home. Is there any direct evidence? I'm not sure about that question. I'm not sure I can answer it on this web call, but I will, whenever I send out the material, I will try to see if I can find some more direct evidence. Any other questions? Let me see. There are no more questions. So with that, I like to thank everyone from listening in. The presentation will be distributed. If you want to use the trials, make sure to send us an email about it. Otherwise, I'll just wish you to have a nice day, and I hope to see you here back next Wednesday with our new webinar with focus on something a little bit different, and then I will be back again in 14 days with an update on COVID-19. So thank you so much, and have a nice day.